start updating procedures or anything that may need to be updated and get policies to the board down the road. As a reminder, not that anybody really needs this, but the final day for students coming up is May 20th. So May 20th will be here before we know it, and that will be the final day for our students. And I know a lot of people are excited about that last day of school. But I will say, I've been making school visits this morning. I was at Mayfield for the morning, and teaching and learning is still taking place. It's not over. So we have a lot of things. We're post-testing season now, and getting to the point now where we're able to put some finishing touches on the school year, but the teachers and students are still engaged, they're still learning, and it's good to see that and be part of that. Lastly, we have our new CHS Student School Board representative. She's not here, but Arna Patel is being named. She will be taking over the reins for the 22-23 school year. She was not able, I guess, to make it today.
Didn't know she could make it on.
Okay, so that's fine. But we will make sure that you get her bio and picture so you'll know who she is, and that way. Okay, so you got that good stuff. So good. We congratulate Arna on that, and I know she will do a fantastic job, and I know she can't wait to meet you all in the near future. So that's my update for today.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Byron. We are going to have Spotlight, and I believe Carolyn Ingram is going to do a presentation. Carolyn, if you'll go up to the podium there, that would be great.
You want me to hold that for you? Okay.
Well, you may be wondering why I am doing this. Most of you know that I am on the state board of directors, and one of my privileges of being on that board is to give boards who are considered boards of distinction an award. Now, folks, not very many people get this. I've given it to about 4 systems so far this year. And of course, they called me a few weeks ago and said that my own board was won this distinction, and they would like for me to present it today. So it is just with my deepest opportunity, my privilege, and my requirement to give this to Cleveland City Schools. Dawn, if you would come forward, I'll give it to you. This is given in 4 areas that we had to do some major work: policy, program, promotion, and board development. So they just don't give it to anyone and just give it because they want to, but we have to work for it. We have to give a lot of time and a lot of effort in it. So Dawn, on behalf of the TSBA, and you're being our president for many years, we want to give this to you and say thank you for all you've done for us. And
It's for all of these board members here. It's what you all have done.
they send me a script to go by, and I didn't really do it. But what they say at the bottom is, shake hands with everyone and leave.
That's great. I love it.
Can't wait.
Thanks, Carol. She represents us well on the TSBA board of directors, and we're proud to have her there. It's really good to have somebody on that board. And we recognize the school systems in the southeast part of Tennessee. So thank you, Carolyn. All right, Dr. Bradley, you're going to introduce us to some new principals.
I will. We have a little slide we're going to put up, and I don't know who's first there, so we're going to let that pull up real fast, and then we'll get into this. So first, I'm going to introduce you to our new executive assistant, administrative assistant to the director of schools and board. Andrea Mackin is here with us today, and we certainly appreciate her coming to be part of our system and to work with me and to work with the board in the coming weeks. She will be onboarded and officially part of us. She came to visit today, so thank you for that, and you'll get to know all these folks in the near future.
I have to interrupt you now. It took
Yes.
us 2 years to quit calling Julie.
I know.
Now we gotta go back.
Since you kept doing it. So, no, that's gonna be great. We look forward to you being part of our crew, and we will make sure we take care of you. So, just like you'll take care of us. So going along with that, Dr. Joel Barnes, of course, is here. We'll have you guys come up one at a time, and I think everyone knows Dr. Barnes pretty well, and we're glad that he's going to be returning to Blank Fowler Elementary School. Very proud of him and the work he's done there, and will continue to do there at Blank Fowler. So congratulations, Dr. Barnes.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Kim Bradford, the newly named Kim Bradford, principal of Stewart Elementary School. Kim is right now, of course, at the middle school as an assistant principal, doing a fantastic job there. So look forward to you going to Stewart. Congratulations to you as well.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Carrie O'Connor. And Mr. O'Connor is, of course, assistant principal at Rawson Yates right now. But since we're breaking out and going to create Yates again with the principal, Mr. O'Connor is going to be taking that role, and I know you'll do a great job, so congratulations to you as well. So do you want to get a picture of them? Sure. Quickly? Okay. Can we take a
Yeah,
quick
sure.
breather?
Go
Before I
ahead.
leave, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc. You want to be with the doctor?
Yes. Well, let's meet in the middle. I'll look that way.
Here we go. 1, 2, keep smiling. 3, 1, 2, 3. You get yours, Julie?
She's good.
Okay, one more.
Oh, one more.
Yeah, it's bouncing off of Carrie's hair.
Wow. Put that in paper. Thank you.
It's a rough crowd. Okay. All right. You just move right along, Dr. Talk about the budget.
Okay. All right, we have a budget presentation. We'll go ahead and pull that up at this point. All right, starting off, as you know, this is the final year for what we've always called the BEP. It's been in existence for over 30 years, and that's our state funding model that's currently in place. The new law, TISA, is going to be coming in starting next school year, and will phase BEP completely out. So this is the last year for the BEP as we know state funding today. So the budget that you have to hopefully approve today is the BEP budget, and that's where that funding is coming from. And I just took this from the state website. As stated by the Tennessee Department of Education, the goals of TISA are to do the following. 1, empower each student to read proficiently by 3rd grade, prepare each high school graduate to succeed in the post-secondary program or career of the graduate's choice, and to provide each student with the resources they need to succeed regardless of the student's individual circumstances. So with the models that we have seen so far, and they're models right now because it's just projections, we do see a growth in state funding coming down the road for us on top of what we've been getting without any need or requirement, I should say, for any increase in local funding at this point in time. So we do project out in the years to come that additional state dollars will be coming in. We just don't know the exact amount of that until those models get a little bit more specific with our numbers and everything else down the road, but that is a good thing.
Do we know the timing? Are they going to do funding the same way the BEP has done it, like every few months, or do
Well,
we know that?
that's the piece that's still, we have a webinar next week, and that's when we hope to learn more about that.
Okay.
So the details, the law is now in place, it's been signed. The details will start coming out more. So I don't know all the details on the new model just yet. I think we'll know quite a bit more, hopefully starting next week when they start really educating us. And I'm sure there will be seminars and webinars and other learning to go with this, because it is a pretty drastic change from the way we've done STEM funding in the past 30 years. So I'm sure we will be seeing a change to that.
Have they told you anything about any restrictions on it or changes?
No, not really. Just listening to the different committee hearings, which I listened to a lot of those, and honestly, there were so many amendments, I'm not sure what's in it and what's not in it right this second, so we need to wait and see. But the premise of the new bill was that we would be able to use our state funds in the way that we see fit, but there are certain caveats to go with that too. So we'll just have to, once we know more details, I will make sure that you get those and that you're caught up to speed as well. And I'm sure TSBA will be all over this with educational seminars and webinars. But I just wanted to kind of bring that up at the beginning to let you know this year, our model is based off the BEP. In future years, it will not. So that's something that I just want to make you aware of. The recommendations that we have in the budget for this upcoming year are tied to strategic goals that we have set through the strategic plan. And these are just some of the different features. There are more, but these are things that we just wanted to pull out and share with you. One, we're going to be analyzing and approving new math curriculum. It is time to go through that cycle again. So it's time to purchase new math curriculum, make sure we have that ready to go. So we'll be utilizing funds to be able to do that. STEM, we're going to be continuing STEM instruction throughout each school. So there's a part of the budget, our budgets that will be going into STEM education, including family nights at our schools, STEAM camps, Tango Flight, continuation of CAPS, a lot of different pieces to our puzzle as we go into STEM or STEAM, depending on who you talk to and how they decide to call, what they decide to call that. And ELA, our English Language Arts, we're going to continue professional development and implementation of our adopted curriculum. We're happy with what we're seeing there, but we need to continue that. So we want to make sure our teachers have the knowledge they need to be able to go forth and make sure the instruction stays very strong in that area. As far as tutoring and credit recovery, we're still very much climbing out of the COVID situation that we've been part of the last few years. So we want to make sure funds are continuing to make sure we have our, for example, Raider XD program, our K-8 tutoring, and credit recovery is still very strong for high school students. So we're going to be continuing with the funding for that to make sure we have those pieces still up and running. As far as just life skills going, Capturing Kids' Hearts has been a real success for our school system, so we're going to continue to fund that and hopefully get some additional trainings in the coming year. We're going to continue to fund our social workers, our behavior support team. I'm going to talk more about that in just a little bit because that's something that we want to, as a recommendation, is to add in some certain ways. And then interventions, our after-school and summer programming. Summer programming has made a huge difference and was very successful last summer. So we want to continue with that and make sure that funds are available for those things, as well as response to intervention and, of course, special education funding. Make sure that we're doing as much as we can to support our schools. I mean, that's a huge part of what we're doing here in our budget, is trying to figure ways to support our schools, support our students in their needs, and achieve the goals that are approved through our strategic plan for the upcoming year. Again, this is not everything with the strategic plan. I just want to kind of give you an overview of a few of the different pieces with that. As far as employees go, I'm very happy to be able to bring to the board a recommendation of a 3.5% raise for all employees who are eligible for those raises. That's a substantial amount. You can see when you add that and the step increase together, you're talking about $1.6 million going toward step increases and 3.5% raises for employees. So that's a huge deal. That's something I'm very proud of. Our employees have really borne the brunt of a lot of the things that have to go on in the school system during COVID times. And one of the things that I want to do, and of course the board approves the board budget, but I think we really need to concentrate on what we can do to take care of our employees over the next few years. And that includes monetarily how we can support them, but also provide extra supports, and we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes, But on this particular slide, how we can work on our salary scales and really think about our employees and what we can do to help them in their lifestyles. Teacher assistants, that's an area that very much we need to pay attention to. And my recommendation to the board is that over the next 3 years, we raise the starting pay to $15 an hour and make those adjustments to the other parts of the pay scale that go with that. So this year, we are recommending step 1 toward that. That would bring the starting pay to $12.50, which is an increase. And then we will see that hopefully go up over the next couple of years to get it up that to where it needs to be. That's a cost of this year, $124,990 to make that move. School level administrative assistants, we recommend an increase to the starting salary to $15 per year, and adjustments to other parts of the salary scale as well. That adds a budget of $43,509. For our school interventionist, that's an important part of what we do in our schools, and our school interventionists, we definitely value them. And we think that there's value in having them in the role where they're working right now. Their pay is currently $15 an hour, and that's a stagnant pay, and that's where it's been, and that's kind of where it's set. But we do recommend some longevity bonuses that go with that pay. We're not recommending moving above the $15 an hour mark, but we think there's a good case to be made for at 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and plus, giving some bonuses at the end of the year to go with that. So that's a recommendation I would have to help us retain some really good interventionists that we have working in our schools right now. And then also looking at substitute pay. We understand that, the substitute teacher is the teacher of the day. And I was visiting Mayfield this morning and walked in and visited the substitute doing a wonderful job teaching the classroom. And that's huge. And so we need good quality substitute teachers, and we want to retain the ones that we've been using. So we're recommending increasing the pay. Certified substitutes would have $100 per day pay. 4-year degree would be $90, and then others would be $85. So that was a recommendation that I would like to make as well. Okay, keep going there. So requested supports. During the budget cycle, Cindy and I have met with all the department heads and supervisors. We've met with principals and really tried to hear the concerns. What are things that we can do to make life in schools better for students, for staff, for all involved? And one of the big areas we've heard is in the area of behavior and life skills. When we talk about mental health supports, we talk about behavior supports, those kind of things. That's a big piece of what we're hearing right now. And, we had a behavior summit a couple of months back and very successful. This is the next step moving past just having a summit and actually putting the summit into action and putting a plan into action to give more supports to our school principals, our teachers, to make sure they have some help when they need that help. So one, behavior and life skills specialist, that's currently a grant-funded position that we have in the system. Dr. Scarth is the name that goes with that position. That grant is going to be going away, and we want to make sure we keep that position. She has made a really positive difference in our schools, and we want to retain her and retain that role. So we recommend moving that to the general budget, and that becomes just part of our pay scale. We also recommend hiring a new school psychologist. Our school psychologists are stretched very thin. They barely have time right now to do work with special education and IEPs, and we want them to expand their role. We want them to be able to help with behavioral needs and other needs in the schools rather than just IEPs all the time. That's still a big part of their job, but we want them to be able to branch out. So hiring another school psychologist will really help with that process, but also working with mental health issues that we are seeing in schools these days. We're also recommending through our federal Title I and II funds a learning support interventionist. That person would be there to assist with behavior and life skill specialists and really getting into our schools and helping to ensure that any concerns we have with behavior are being addressed. It gives us another person to be able to put into the school settings to really help those teachers when there's a behavioral issue. Having somebody come into the classroom and watch and observe, give tips, lead trainings, those kind of things are really beneficial, and it's an area that we definitely have a need for right now. Special education behavior support interventionists, that's just what it says. We need somebody in the world of special ed who can help with the IEPs for behavioral issues and deal with special ed, those kind of issues from a special education point of view as well. We're also recommending adding a behavior class teacher and a behavior class assistant through ESSER funds. This is a classroom that would be set up for our high-end, high-need behavioral issues that sometimes do develop. And that would be a special course, special class where students need to be, needed extra intervention that's not out-of-school suspension, not in-school suspension, but it's a class, academic class that focuses also on those behavioral issues in a small group setting for a certain amount of time. That would be something that would be very beneficial. We've had that in systems where I've come from in the past, and I think that would be very beneficial here too.
What age group are you thinking we need this for?
I think what we're talking about is elementary. You know, that's an area for our need right now. Elementary is where we're seeing the most needs for this type of help. And that's something that, again, has been asked for, been requested, and something that we have money to fund right now. So we recommend moving that direction. And of course, our social workers will continue to be budgeted to federal ESSER dollars as well. And we've already had a lot of talks about, you know, the ESSER dollars are only going to be here for 2 more years. So in our upcoming budgets, you're going to see us trying to carve out space to move things off of ESSER back into the general budget. And we're hopeful with our new state dollars that will be coming forward that we'll be able to do some of that in the years to come. Again, we just have to see how far those will stretch. But the social workers are making a huge difference in our schools and making a huge difference with families. And these other positions that we are recommending will be part of that overall structure that is really a behavioral team support. That's an area that we need to focus on K through 12. Going along with that, we are also recommending an additional ESL teacher. We have increasing demand. This morning at Mayfield, I met 3 students from the Ukraine that are now part of our school system. And that's just an example, but we have students that are coming from all around the world to Cleveland City Schools, and that's great. It's a strength of our district, but it's a reality. We have to have teachers to teach those students how to better utilize their English skills. So an additional ESL teacher is what I'm recommending in the budget. And also 2 additional teachers to be utilized as needed. Those 2 positions would not be hired right away. We would want to see where our growth is across the district and be able to use those 2 strategically as needed down the road. We're also recommending at Black Bower an elementary operations coordinator. Right now we have an operations coordinator, attendance operator is what we basically call it, at the middle school. And we also have somebody at the high school. There's a need for that at Black Bower as well. Black Bower is growing. It's a big school. They don't quite qualify based on our procedures that we have for another assistant principal at this time yet. That might come down the road, but not yet. But we do think having a person like this at Black Bower will really allow the administrators at the school to focus more time on the academic structure instead of always doing academics and facilities and buses and other things. So that gives them some help. That school is a big school, has a lot of needs that are very specific to Black Bower, and I think this would be helpful for that particular school to have someone in that role. And the final part I have here is communication specialist. That's one that, of course, we've talked about a lot in our retreat, and we're going to talk more about it in just a few minutes in the program here. But I am recommending, if the board approves that, a communication specialist that will help us and assist us with school as well as system-wide communication efforts. You know, if we're really wanting to take this to the next level, and I hear from teachers, I hear from school personnel, community members, just like you do, that, you know, they want us to improve communications. Well, we need to have a plan to do that, and B, you have to have someone to do that. We can't, it's hard to take on much more right now. with what we're trying to do and as our system. So this is something that I would recommend as well. Okay. I know that's really, really small and it's hard to see from here. I did email this out and we can make sure we have copies as well. This is in the budget. This is part of the overall budget plan that you have in your documents that were given to you. But when you look at the pie chart, overall, you can see how this breaks down. Regular instruction makes up 54.2% of the general budget, and that's huge. You know, we are trying to do all we can to carve out the funds to go back to support what's happening in the schools. So when you look at regular instruction, that's a big chunk of it, and then there are plenty of other things that go into school as well. You look at attendance, you look at health services, all those things tie back to school. So it goes more than that. But it's hard to, I know, see that right now in front of your screen. But for those who maybe are watching from home that can maybe see this, or it'll be on our website as well. Of course, once the budget's approved, it goes to our website, people can look this up and see. But it is interesting when you break the pie chart into all the different areas, even though it shows 54.2% in for regular instruction is part of our budget, when you put all the other parts that go into schools in there, it's a large amount. Our administrative structure is very small, very minute in the whole grand comparison, grand scheme of things. And that's the way we're wanting to keep this. We're not trying to grow our administrative office staff. It's really focusing on what we can do to support schools, what we can do to make sure that our students and staff have what they need to be successful in the classroom and in the school setting. So we go to the next screen, the revenues. The increase based on the April estimate, now I will say that, you know, we have our first estimate that came last Friday, late afternoon, and that's the estimate that we have. Our increase in the BEP over last year is $1,418,000. So, you know, honestly, just going back, at first we were thinking a 2% raise would be about all we could do this year. But when we got this April estimate, Cindy was able to go back, calculate, and that's how we got to the 3.5%, because we got additional funds in that were, you know, over our current projections that we were using. So that took us to the 3.5% raise that we're looking at for employees. You're looking at a sales tax of 7%, equals $482,000. Increase in the property tax 3% to $199,000. So when you look at total revenues, $54,893,073. We are going to be dipping into the use of fund balance a little bit, $412,582, which gives us a total available funds of $55,305,655. And that would be your general budget for the next year. So that's the presentation I have for you, and then Cindy and I will be more than happy to try to answer any questions that anyone may have.
I have a couple questions. Can you go back to slide 2? The next one after that one. So this first point here, where it says 3.5% raise and step increase.
Right.
Is that one change or is it 2?
It's 2 different changes. So
Okay, I just want to
step
make sure.
increase would be, for example,
Yes.
just so everybody's listening.
Right.
If you have let's say you have 20 steps on the teacher pay scale, going step 1 to step 2 from being a beginning teacher to your second year. And then on top of that, there would be a 3.5% raise.
And so how many employees are included in that number?
Cindy, do you know off the top of your head what the number would be?
I don't know what the total number is, but it would only be if you were at a certain level on a step where it flattens out. So,
We can find that out and make sure you have that.
and the step increase itself is around $380,000.
Okay.
For all eligible employees, can you give me some examples of who wouldn't be considered eligible, or is that too broad of
Well, the only one back at the interventionist right now, or
Yeah, for the raise, the step increase again would be for someone who had hit a step where it was flat for the next few years. They would not obviously receive a step, but they would receive the 3.5%.
so if you reach the top of the teacher pay scale, for example, there's not another step to go to, but you still would get a 3.5% cost of living.
are there other positions that would not be eligible for the raise outside of the state?
Interventionists have been at $15 an hour, and that's where we're bringing that longevity pay in for them, so that would not be part of the overall rate structure such as that, but the longevity pay would be for that group.
And the cafeteria monitors.
So anybody else that gets a paycheck from Cleveland City would be covered, except for those couple of instances?
Yes.
So the 2,153, that's for the totality of the interventions. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Substitute pay, is that gonna put us, I know all the principals having trouble getting substitutes, is that gonna help us?
It will. Moving the pay up to that range will definitely help. That'll put us, I can't say it'll put us at the top of the stack around here. I'm not certain. I'm getting a yes. That will put us toward the top of the stack, if not the top for substitute pay in our area.
Anybody else?
I had a question about I think it was the behavioral specialist.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the next slide, but it was, yes, the behavioral class teacher. I was wondering if that at the elementary school would be kind of like a mirroring of the RBA program.
It could be, the details still have to be ironed out, but I think that would be a fair way of saying it would be an elementary version maybe of what the RBA program looks like at the middle school or high school.
Okay.
But a lot different setup, but it could look similar to that.
And the last question I had, on the pie chart at
Yes,
the end, before we publish that, can we make sure we have all the percentages on there?
I'll look at Cindy.
Yeah.
Yes, she says yes.
It was on one version I had, but it didn't transfer over to that one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And just to remind the board, this, when we approve it, it has to go to city council, has to be approved, so it won't go on the website until the city council approves it. So that may take it a couple months. I don't know what their schedule is. Cindy, do you know?
Doing it right now.
It's in June,
Okay.
but, I have to have this to them this week, so.
Okay, so that's the procedure. Before we can put it on our website, that's what we have to do.
Communication specialist, that's gonna be split up, right? So you just work with you and the board, and where Julie did them both this year, it'd be.
Yes,
entirely
I'm sorry, I was not
different
following. Yes, the communication specialist
position.
will be a separate position. And that way, there could be separation of duties and concentration on our communication efforts.
And then regarding the technology strategic plan, do we have any thoughts about what that's gonna do for budget?
I don't have any thoughts on that just yet, but we will look at that when that strategic plan comes in, and then we will definitely, in upcoming years or when that plan goes into existence, have to fund those things as well. The board will have to allot money for that, wherever it may come from.
And we still have debt service we're paying on for Mayfield and Arnold School. Is that it? Those are the two big ones, aren't they?
The QSCAD.
Oh, the science wing. That is totally being paid for out of our budget, not ever for the city council. And we got those great rates on those QSCAD bonds, back in whenever we built the science wing.
What's the projected date of payoff on any of those, Cindy? Like the science wing, it's been here a while.
2027 is the earliest, 2037 is the furthest out we go right now, so.
500 years.
But the city council did pay for the Raider Arena and Candy's Creek, so I didn't mean to slide them on the science wing. But we were able to get that bond money, which is why we got that. So they have been very supportive of us. Any other questions? Dave? Tom?
No.
So we need an approval for this budget. Are
We
you
do.
going to talk about anything else?
No, I mean, unless you guys have questions.
Okay, you need to approve, you need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, Carolyn?
Second,
Charlie. Any other questions, discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Very good. All right. we're
We
gonna
do
move-
have a guest that's come in, if I could have just a moment. And I know she may not want to stay or can't stay the whole time, but Arna Patel is here, and she is going to be taking the role for next year. So we're glad to have you here to meet the board, so.
Nice to meet all of you.
We will look forward to having you on our board, and it'll be great. Leah can fill you in on how hard we are. If you all would introduce yourselves to her, she might not know each one of us.
Oh, should I go in the middle?
Yeah.
See, I'm going to.
Hey, come on in the middle, that'd be great. Good to have you here.
While she's walking up there, I'll just let the board know, we started this, 7 or 8 years ago, and we had the most candidates this year that applied and interviewed. And Anna was just phenomenal, so
Thank you.
great candidate.
So, Laura, we have, always in our board meetings, we have the director of schools, obviously, and his assistant, administrative assistant, and Julie's leaving us at the end of this month, but it's going to be Andrea over there who will be in that seat, and then all the board members. So Nate, you want to introduce yourself?
Meg Tucker.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Krista McKay.
Nice to meet you.
Tony Condon.
Carolyn Ingram.
Peggy Pesterfield.
Todd Cloud.
Dawn Robinson.
Russell Dyer.
And then we often have principals and administrators from the school system that come and sit at our meetings. And of course, our meetings are always open to the public. So your first meeting, if you want to bring your whole family, we would love to have that and meet them.
Okay.
Okay? So would you like to tell us anything about yourself?
Well, I'm a junior right now. And I'm not really sure what to say.
So why did you want to do this job?
I genuinely was just curious. I wanted to learn how our system worked, what goals. I was very interested with the presentation you had. I was Googling things. I was asking Mr. Brian certain questions and stuff. So I was curious. I wanted to see how things worked. I wanted to see, hopefully, I'm excited to see in the future what I can contribute.
That's right.
And yeah.
You'll learn a lot and we'll learn a lot from you. So we look forward to you being part of our board. And thank you for coming this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome to stay, but you also
You don't have to say.
Not this time. Thank
But
you.
you're not going to stay and watch the rest of the meeting. All right, Dr. Dye, you're going to talk to us about who you are recommending for tenure.
Okay, it is tenure time. I'm going to ask Mr. Kaiser to come forward and he will walk us through our tenure list for the year.
Uh-oh, she's one of Carolyn's.
She's a Yay student.
Somehow we all knew that would come out. Well, good afternoon, board. One of the privileges of my position is to bring to you the list of candidates for professional tenure, which has to be voted on by the board. We're going to go through who those individuals are, then I'll talk about what the requirements are, and then, of course, you'll have to approve the tenure for these individuals. So we're going to run through them real quick. These are the individuals that are eligible. Angie Collins from Candies Creek Cherokee Elementary School. Allie Creel from Cleveland Middle. Angela Denton from Arnold Memorial. Kristen Early at Blythe Bower. Rhonda Ferguson at Cleveland High. Will Godwin at Cleveland High. Kristen Gowan at George R. Stewart. Danielle Jones at George R. Stewart. Kenna Kirksey at Cleveland Middle. Catherine Levert at Mayfield. Jake Moats at Cleveland Middle. Casey O'Connor at Cleveland Middle. Letitia Skurlock at Cleveland High. And Angela Wright at Cleveland Middle School. To be eligible, these individuals have to score level 4 or 5. Level 4 is above expectations. Level 5 is significantly above expectations in their level of effectiveness in the last 2 years of the eligibility period, which is 5 years or 45 months. These individuals were able to do that. It's a little strange now because we have the COVID year where no one received any kind of score, but that is not held against them. They can go back to the previous year prior to that and use that score to become eligible. So these are the individuals that have been recommended by their principal, by Dr. Dyer, and now come to you for a tenure vote.
That's your recommendation, Dr. Dye?
It is. That's my recommendation for
Your
tenure.
motion?
So moved.
Tom, Peggy? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you, and we will
Proud of them.
send letters out to those individuals and let them know.
All right, that'll be a good letter to get in the mail,
Yes, it will.
or the email, what it is. All right, we're gonna go ahead with the policies. Nate, are you doing those?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so there are, I think, 18, 20 of them. And so I'll take about an hour to go through these. So you guys have these, they've been posted, and so I'm not gonna read them. I do want to make mention of a couple of things. Several of these were just general checks and updates so that the policy can show that it was reviewed and not just sitting there for 20 years without being reviewed. And those specific ones were 6403, 6405, 6504, 6602, 6604, 6704, and 6710. So those are just minor updates verifying that they're still valid. Okay. There were a few that were wording updates, and then we had one that was a deletion. And so I'm going to go to the deletion one real quick, if that's okay. The 6501, the married and or pregnant students. We were recommending that one be deleted. And as you can see, you've read it, so we won't go into any details unless anybody have questions. So
What does that mean? Does that mean they're not eligible to come to school now, or what?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Elliott because he's the man on that one.
Those are no longer, those guidelines aren't exclusive to that in that population anymore as it was at that point. So our students are eligible to get educated, public educated, all the way up through 17 years of age, as long as they're compulsory attendance. So it's no longer those specific services under that. And TSBA, we talked with them and they recommended that this policy no longer be on the books.
You don't have to specify, they just automatically are considered just like regular students.
Times change.
Okay. Then the other one, an all new one, the 1.103 board evaluations. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory and
I'd like to talk about that one if we could.
absolutely go for it.
It says in there that the evaluation will be at a scheduled time with no other items on the agenda, which basically means you gotta have a work session or a retreat. And I don't think that the board should tie itself down to that parameter. It can always be done that way. But why are we gonna put that in the policy? I don't think that's necessary, and I'd like to take that out if the board would agree to that. We can always meet for a work session if we choose, but if it's a policy, then it has to be that way. What's your feelings?
So my question was this taken from a TSBA recommended policy, or how did this come about?
Yes.
It was TSBA.
It was TSBA.
So this is their recommended.
Right. So
that was straight from their recommendation. So,
and you know, like I've said in the past, we can change those
Right.
as much as we want and make it ours. So do we need to do that here? So
If the board wants to do that, I would make that motion that we take that line out.
which line?
It would be
B.
B,
Yeah.
evaluation shall be at a scheduled time with no other items on the agenda. And with all board members present, I don't have a problem with that. You shouldn't do the evaluation if the board's not there, but you're not always gonna have to have a work session. But, you always have that option.
We can make it optional.
So,
I have one more question. So the way that sounds is different than what we did this past time. This past time, we passed it out amongst ourselves and did it, and then we came together and saw kind of the results. Is this saying that we wouldn't do that disbursement?
no, we can still do that, is my understanding, that we did it, but to talk about it as a board, this is saying, so we did it at our retreat, but we had other items on the agenda other than that. And the board may want to have a whole session, but I mean, we can always do what we want. But I just don't think we need to tie our hands if we don't have to on that. So I would make the motion that we approve that by deleting line B, if I could do that.
I second that motion.
Second. Okay, all those in favor? Okay. So this is first reading, so we'll read it again next month.
All right, so some of the other ones that were changed, 6.302. This one is in regard to homeless students. Can we pull that one up there? You can see the red that was changed there. This is pretty simple and also is more, I guess the right word would be in favor of the students, for lack of better terms. The strike-throughs are what we're removing and the red is what we're adding. And by the way, we did add a cross-reference here that ties to another policy because of if a student is suspended more than 10 days, he or she shall receive notice of the right to. This policy addresses that, but then the other also addresses some other things that should be considered for the because when I first read that, I was thinking, okay, why only notifications for this particular area? I think the actual one is a little bit lower. Can you scroll down a little bit? Yeah. So those on the right there are references to other policies.
And that's always helpful.
Yes. Any questions, concerns?
On that policy.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, that one is good. So 6402. I'll have to pull mine up because I'm not as. Here we go. Same thing here applies. We've changed some of the wording to make it clear. But then also, as you'll notice there, those two strikeout paragraphs are replaced with the red one. So screening tests are required by the Tennessee Department of Education and Department of Health will be conducted. Parents and guardians will receive written notice of any screening result that indicates a condition that may interfere with the student's progress. The school district will not conduct physical examinations of a student without parental consent or by court date unless the immediate health or safety of the student or others is in question. I think that's that clarification there is good. And then we also removed, we added a whole section at the bottom, but we made accommodations for now when the physical examinations are granted, if you will, for example, Cleveland Middle is granting, you don't have to pay a fee for physical examinations on their physical examinations day. When it was explicit, the parents had to do that. So we made an accommodation for that, so. Any questions on that one? No? All right, 6404. It's talking about HIV positive. And this one doesn't have a change other than the actual date being updated, but as well as adding or designee for the director of schools. And that's kind of what we've been doing all along to try to make sure that Dr. Dyer doesn't have to do this stuff specifically himself, so, unless he wants to. Yeah. All right. The other one is 6410, emergency contact information. This one is a here misspelling there, so we corrected that spelling on the word file, and then also added the instead of just his, we added the /her, and then change the specifics about developing a form to actual tools. That way it's not, specific, so. All right, the next one is special education students, 6500. Cody, if I'm going too fast, just let me know.
I just can't find 600.
So in this particular one, we fixed the style, if you will. There was two number ones, so we just fixed that to make it clear. And then we added a section under number 9 at the bottom, toward the bottom of the policy. And we added except as permitted by state law regulations to number 9. So this section here that was added, director of schools shall develop administrative procedures to govern the following things. Personnel authorized to use isolation and restraint, training requirements for personnel working with special education students, and incident reporting procedures, and these were adopted from TSBA as well.
Oh, okay. On that, under director of schools, do we want to put board designee there as well?
Yes.
So we could add that,
Okay.
director of schools, board designee shall develop.
Did you get that, Julie? Okay.
Good catch there. You know, after reading all these, it's bound to have some
It's all
something
right.
missed. All right, so foreign exchange students, 6502. I believe this one was a change in the designee as well, as you can see there. Let's see here. I think that was the only change, yes. All right, 6503. We did that one already, right? Homeless students, didn't we just do that one?
No, we didn't do that.
Oh, okay. 6503. We added an S to accommodations. I know that seems minor, but we wanted to make sure it's grammar correct. And then changed or to of school or origin. We did school of origin to make sure that that was correct grammar there. 6702, student clubs and organizations. For the hazing section, we added terminology from TSBA to make sure that we're covered in that area because this policy was last updated a while ago, and we wanted to make sure that current law terminology was included in there. So, 6705, student social events. Again, in this one, we added the designee to the director of schools. Let's see here, I lost my spot here. All right. Here we go. Sorry about that, lost my spot. All right, we add the designee there and strike the board mentioning out in that third paragraph. And then parties shall be at Christmas, the end of the first, we strike Christmas and then the end of the first semester holiday break. Obvious reasons, there's maybe people that don't celebrate Christmas, so we want to make sure that that is an accommodation there and use a generic term like holiday. So.
I'd like to talk about this policy.
Okay.
I asked Dr. Dyer about it. I said, so if we have more than 2 parties in a school, they just have to call it something else, like celebration, or they can call, and he said, well, this is a really old policy. So I thought, well, do we really need that to be in policy? Can't we let the administration develop something? And I'm going to address you, Dr. Dyer. Would you share with them what you told me about consistency, or Dr. Elliott?
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Elliott, you come up as well, but, basically with this, I'm open to your suggestions on how the board would want to do it. This has been a policy for quite a few years before I ever got here. But the idea is that consistency across our schools is something that the principals enjoy. So, that way if Stewart can say, well, Principal Stewart can say, we, by board policy, are only allowed 2. That way, they have that written down. And that way there's same thing at Stewart, same thing at Ross, same thing at Yates, and so forth. But, I mean, Dr. Elliott, you want to jump in and kind of say what you're talking about?
Echo what you were saying there, basically the consistency and also relying on trying to protect that instruction time as much as possible. So kind of putting a structure around that holiday and which holidays specifically are done. In speaking with TSBA this month, talking with them, they said this policy is one that is very flexible, even could this could be worked either way. This is something that's been, again, historically in Cleveland City Schools on the books for quite a while now. So it was a long time coming. So it also could be like you said, Ms. Robinson, a procedure, if it's something that the elementary principals wanted to put into a procedural situation there.
I'd like to see it say something broader, so it could be a policy, like the school wants to have consistency across the system. And then what I'd like is to see the administration then develop, after input from the teachers and the principals, what works best in their schools, but that we dictate as a board that it's consistent. So we can't have a party school over on this side of town and never have a party school over on this side of town. Because I think that's too specific, or something like a social event, put a number. And I see that was written in '94, and we read these every year, but for some reason that jumped out at me this year. That, when did we get into that kind of minutia in our policies?
Well, birthday parties is the one that, it's all over the board, or it used to be. And I don't, it's hard to convince parents that, they couldn't bring cupcakes or balloons or whatever, so I think that would help even with that item too. If the principal, whatever the principal.
If the administrators developed some kind of procedure, because they still need that, it sounds like you're saying, because we want to be consistent. We don't want one school to say every kid can have their birthday party, and then another school say you can't even bring cupcakes. But again, I really defer to you, Carolyn, because you've had to talk to those parents when they come to the schools.
Made lots of parents mad, at times, especially if they send balloons and have to call them. And it's just, it cuts in not only to the teacher's time, but the administrative assistant or whomever works with it. So I think it would be good to have a procedure and then let the
And then just make sure we make it consistent. Krista?
I like your idea of getting the input, because I see both sides. I see the ideal of having this kind of a limit and consistency. So I want to know, is that too restraining, or is that something that's welcomed as a kind of a fallback of we can't do it because of policy? I want to know what the teachers and the principals and so forth, what their feelings are before we kind of unilaterally make that decision.
We have an administrative meeting next week, so we can bring this up in the meeting there and get some feedback from our principals and staff there too.
Charlie, you had a question?
Well, we're talking about the end of the first semester and then Valentine's Day, and Doug Moore and Carolyn, Field Day is a huge social event. I mean, because parents are there all day and it's a big thing. Is that, if we did the end of the semester and it's saying that you can't cut out Field Day, I mean, it's, the way it's saying though is, Field Day is a big event. When parents are there all day,
Could we pull this policy and then just have Dr. Dyer, and not even do a first reading this time, and get input?
Yeah, we'll talk to you. Let's put that on the agenda for the having a meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dyer, thank you, Dave.
because if we do end of the semester and we do Valentine's, we're gonna eliminate Field Day. I don't think so. I mean, you might have a ride on you.
That might be a PE class, I don't know.
Well, it's all day, and it's a big social event for parents there.
It is, you're
That's what
right.
it is.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we're pulling that one, right?
Yes.
All right, so 6707, contest for students. Instead of making Dr. Dyer approve every contest, we're saying let's do it at the school principal level. I'm okay with that. All right, and then the last one for this is, this section is 6709. Student fees and fines. We took out a paragraph here, that school fees, that last one on the screen there, and we added the terminology above it. If the parent chooses not to pay a requested fee, the child shall not be prevented from participating in activity or course for which the fee is being requested.
That's a lot.
So,
I have a question about that, and they may not, I think the difference is between the fines and the fees, but I just want to make sure that I understood correctly. Because I know that they pay a cost for taking things like dual enrollment and AP exams, and I'm assuming that those have to be paid.
Those have to be paid because those are choice classes you're choosing to take above and beyond what a normal course would be.
so any more questions?
I'd have one. Dr. Raper had a find on 6.402. It goes back to the director of schools or designee. So it's on the last line of 6.402. It says the director of schools shall ensure. If we could do director of schools or designee shall ensure.
Okay. Any opposed to that change? Maybe you and me. All right, so that's all of the ones listed there. Am I supposed to add these others too, or are you doing that? I want to do that later. All right, so we've got two others, okay? And 6402, physical examination and immunizations. Put that up there. Here we have participating instead of participation is a correction in grammar there. And then the second paragraph, or this next paragraph, cost of examination shall be borne instead of shall be borne, shall be covered. That's more updated terminology by the parent, guardian, and student unless student grants are made available. It's similar to what we were talking to before. And these next two paragraphs are being taken out and replaced with screening tests as required by the Tennessee. I think we did this one already, didn't we?
We did.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so we're good.
I was thinking.
I had it on my separate list, so.
Hey, we had a lot of policies to read. Is
Yes, so
that it?
that's it.
All right, so we'll approve all of those on first reading, except for the one we took out about student social events. So I need a motion to approve. Nate, Krista, good, okay. Christie got it, and second, Carolyn, okay. Any other questions or clarifications? All those in favor of those readings, first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're good, okay. Thank you, Nate. That was a big job this month. All right, we're gonna go to develop communications strategic plan.
All right, well, I'm gonna tell you up front, this is a work in motion still. I contacted, it was 3 firms. All of them wrote back saying they're not taking new clients at this point. So right now, this is a big world and a lot of things are moving and shaking. However, 2 that we've talked to, communicated with, are giving us information. We just don't have it all right now. So the National Schools Public Relations Association is one that Julie would be meeting, talking to them on Friday. And then I've had strategic talks with Aptogee, who provides our website and also provides our app and other things. They also do school audits, like what we've been talking about. So there's communication audits and reports that they do as well. Under NSPRA, I will tell you there's 2 different thoughts on how they proceed with what we've been talking about. One is a true audit that is very intensive, very focused, and the other is a communications review, which is an audit light. So we don't know all the details of this yet. I provided links so we can get this to you, and that way you can have an opportunity to go in and look and see what's the difference between an audit and a review. We will know a lot more about that after Julie has that opportunity to talk to NSPRA later this week. And then Aptogee is going to be getting to me information. I've already had a talk with Aptogee about what we are hoping to do. They're going to put together some parts of this and get that to me. That way I can, when we meet again in probably June, I can bring you more information and then have a more solid idea of what we're looking at as far as what an audit would look like for the district, and also what are the costs involved in that. So that's something that I can bring back to you, hopefully next month. So that's kind of where we are right now on this. We were hoping we'd have more information to share. Unfortunately, we don't have that information right now, other than some links that we can make sure to get to you at that point. Any thoughts or questions?
Yeah, are you gonna continue to reach out to other options, or are these it?
Well, I'm open if you have some ideas of who else we can contact.
Just didn't know what your plan was.
Yeah, right now I'm leaning toward these two because they do work with school systems. It seems like some of the larger firms don't want to necessarily work with maybe a school system. They want to work with businesses and industry more, is what I'm kind of finding. But that's where I am right now anyway. I can continue to look around as well.
Charlie?
Was it Johnson City School System you were going to check with? Or
I didn't get a chance to talk with Johnson. I talked with a bunch of other districts though. At the
who
time.
are they using, you know? I mean,
Well, they don't necessarily use any of these. They've hired communications people and then are using them to
local
do the work. Well, no, they hire like a communication specialist, like what we're doing. What you know, the board's approved that now. So they've hired a person to come in and do that work and kind of put all this together. You know, what we're talking about is hiring a person, but then making sure we have a plan for what we want that person to absolutely do. So I think we would be in a great place, because you're not just hiring a person to say, go communicate. Now we're saying, this is how we want to communicate, and here's the plan moving forward, and what we want to do.
All right.
So more information to come on that.
And what's the plan for a final decision?
I would hopefully have more information at our June meeting to bring back, and then be able to share that with you all, and then we can, as a group, decide what the next steps may be.
Good? Okay.
All right, strategic plan focus is child nutrition. So we're going to have Kathy Berry come front, and she's going to give you an update on strategic plan dealing with school nutrition.
Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you, good afternoon. Okay, so like Dr. Dyer said, I'm gonna give you a quick update on what we've been doing as far as our strategic plan. So the first action step that we have in the strategic plan is to provide an efficient and effective nutrition program to support student success. And so one of the ways we've done that is to provide nutrition meals every day, breakfast and lunch, at no cost to the student, which will continue again next year. So you can see that we provided over 428,000 breakfasts and over 597,000 lunches. And this is since August, and that's through April. Those numbers are through April. We also provide meals after school for students who are staying for things like tutoring or some sports or like musical, things like that. And this is just a quick meal that they can have because, you know, some of our kids stay for quite a while after school. And so we have provided over 21,000 of those. And that is, we're funded by the East Tennessee Human Resource Agency for that. We also provide fresh fruits and vegetables 3 times a week at 3 of our elementary schools. This is also grant funded, and we hope to continue this next year. And we do this as a way to just introduce kids to fresh fruits and vegetables. Some of them are eating things maybe they haven't eaten before, and it's just an extra healthy snack for kids at these 3 elementary schools. The next action step we have is to initiate student, faculty, and community satisfaction surveys. So that's one thing that we're going to work on this summer, is developing those surveys, and we hope to implement those next school year. And so we're just going to come up with different questions with different rating systems to just get some feedback from our community, from our students and parents on the things that they like, things that they would like to see different, et cetera. And so, of course, we'll have those in English and Spanish, paper and electronic versions of those. We also want to continue obtaining student feedback in other ways. The cafeteria managers and staff already ask students and teachers how they like the food, different food items, and they want to hear what they like and what they don't like. But we also want to do things like potentially offer sampling stations in our cafeterias. If we have new items that we think might work well, we'd love to be able to offer those as samples to the kids throughout the year at different times, just to see what might work and try to get some new things on our menus as well. And so, like I said, the staff already does a great job of checking in with the students and teachers, and they will continue to do that. And then for student interaction and participation, we're going to continue to encourage participation in our meal program, because we do want everybody that wants to eat, especially since they're eating at no cost to them right now. Our cafeteria managers do a fantastic job, especially special events and holidays, with their themed decor and different props they have to decorate and just make it more enticing, and also offer different treats for holidays and special events. And one thing that they did in the past that I've learned about, and we're going to start this up next year, is have a day every month that's birthday day. And so every child, we're going to celebrate birthdays for every child that month. And the staff has like different little costumes they wear. They just make a big deal out of birthdays that month. So we're going to bring that back next year, because we just really feel like that makes the kids feel special, and we really want we hope that will encourage participation as well. And then please follow us on Twitter if you're not already. That's our Twitter handle is at CCS_SN program, because we like to spotlight our cafeteria staff and managers and what they're doing, and how they are just making things fun in the cafeterias for the students. So if you're not already, we would encourage you to follow us. Okay.
Kathy, is the free breakfast and lunch, is that now just a year-to-year grant, or is it a multi-year?
It's multi-year, and so next year is our last year of CEP, community eligibility provision. So we'll have to reapply. So like this time next year, we'll be reapplying.
For how many years?
I think it's a 3-year.
3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about the weekend lunch things? Do they still do that?
Not that I'm aware of. Now, there may be agencies in the area that do provide that, but as far as the school system, there's not anything going on that I'm aware of. Okay? Yes.
Just a crazy question. Do you do summer birthdays at the beginning of the end of the year, so the kids of the summer, they never get to have a birthday party?
Right, right. That's definitely something we would consider. It's just in May, just doing it for May, June, and July. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah. So, we started using Sodexo in the elementary.
No, middle and high school,
Mhm.
Okay.
middle and high school.
Is there a plan to transition to that yet, or is that still?
At this point, there's not. At this point, elementary is doing the same traditional school nutrition programming in high school with Sodexo. So unless the board would like me to look at that at some point down the road, right now, that's where we are.
Okay. Anything else?
I think the survey would be real valuable in that department.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've added microwaves at the high school, so if kids brought their lunch and they wanted to warm it up, they can. Are you doing that in any of the other schools? Out in the cafeteria?
Right. Not that I'm aware of, but that's definitely something that we can look into.
I know the high schools really enjoyed that. having
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, are any choices being offered to elementary students
Choices.
at lunch? Choices
Yes, they do have 2 different meal options.
they do?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and then they have a variety of fresh fruits and vegetables that they can choose from. So there's like 2 main entree options, and then they have like a vegetable bar and a fruit bar, and they can choose what they want from that. Yeah. Anybody else?
It's come a long way, that's for sure.
Thank you.
All right, approval of bus 64 donation.
Okay, Hal Taylor is gonna come up front and explain this one. He can make it through the obstacle first.
Good afternoon. So what we have is it's getting ready to come to you and bring to you a list of buses and all of our surplus property where we aged out on our buses where they've got 18 years of age. And this particular bus is one of our special needs buses, so it's shorter and it has a lift in it. The bomb squad, some of the members of the bomb squad from our police department have been looking for something to store and transport that tactical device they use, a robot, to actually go into a situation and pick that kind of thing up, or use a robot in the event that there's the SWAT needs it or so forth. So they've been looking for something, and they just happened to hear about the buses, and they came over and they looked, and they were asking about purchasing and so forth. And then they were asking about, since it's a city school system, I thought I would come to you and ask what you want to do with the response we get so much of the time from the Cleveland Police Department for our buses, for our transportation. They have greatly increased how they handle our little incidents that we have from time to time, anytime you have buses on the road. As well as the number of times we get them called out to alarms in the middle of the night and so forth. We generally get, on a bus like this, we might be lucky because of the age, the wear on it. It's very limited because it's not even a full-size bus. So we'll be lucky to put that on Gov Deals and get $1,000 to $1,500, maybe most $3,000. But they would find it very useful for their program to be able to carry the bomb squad. So Chief Gibson has written a letter to you asking for you to consider that we would, when we, at the end of the school year, when we're no longer able to use this bus, that we would give it to the Cleveland Police Department for their use. And so that's what this letter is asking, and what I'm bringing before you here with the school bus.
Can I have a motion
I'll make a motion we approve.
A second. To give it to them?
Yes.
All right, discussion. Anybody have questions? Are they gonna paint it so it's not a yellow school bus?
I'm not sure what they're gonna do, but it won't be, we will have to take the city signs off of it.
I don't want the kids to think we're driving.
Yeah, we'll take the school bus signs off, but I'm sure they got a plan.
Okay, that's good. That makes me feel better. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it's wonderful that they came to us and that we're able to help them out. I agree.
I think the world of the Cleveland Police Department, and Mark Gibson, they do a tremendous job, and they're there for us when we need them.
Yeah.
I think this is great that we can help them out. Anybody? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. And if you want to just kind of stand there for a minute, because Lee's going to do her update, but then I think you're going to be back up there, and I hate for you to have to get through all that. Okay, we will hear from our students.
Actually, I'm gonna jump in before Leah gets to her part.
Okay.
I'm gonna have her meet me at the podium.
All right, Ms. Leah.
You got a little presentation.
You're in trouble now.
So this is your last time officially with us. You can always come back and visit. But there are some things that go along with it. Let me stand in front of the podium there. One, for graduation, you get a ribbon that you can wear. So you can go ahead and put that on now so you don't have to hang on to it or lose it or anything else.
There we go.
We also give you a certificate for your help. That way you can frame that and put it on your wall and do whatever you want to do with that. But most importantly, you also get a check for your work.
Oh, I didn't know that.
See, that's the part I'll at the end of that. There's also payment that goes with this job. So we certainly appreciate everything that you've done. I know the board loves having you here and the input that you give, and it's very much appreciated. So these are for you, and we're going to smile at that camera real quick. So. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
You might, some of them might not know what you're gonna do next.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say.
Major in and all that.
Next year, I will be attending Coastal Carolina University right outside of Newport Beach to study intelligence and national security, and most likely major in Russian or Arabic. And I will also be continuing my athletic career as a D1 cheerleader.
Pretty good.
You couldn't give your report, but board members, would anybody else like to say anything to Leah before she gives her report? I would like to thank you. You've been here and you've stuck out through these meetings. You've had some valuable input for us, and we probably don't call on you often enough, but you have spoken up even though we didn't call on you. So appreciate that, and we wish you well. in your future. Anybody else have anything?
I've known Leah since she was born. It's been a great part of her life in the church and her family's life. We've gone to football games together and done lots of activities. So I'm very, very proud of her and where she's going. And you all might need to know that her parents have given up their football tickets for this fall so they could go travel to Myrtle Beach to.
We have.
Yeah, this would be real hard for them to travel to Myrtle Beach.
What's the nickname of Coastal Carolina? It's, their school nickname?
Their mascot.
Chanticleers.
Chanticleers, yes.
Fancy word for barnyard chicken.
Well, see, I can go back even farther. I've known her, besides Leah, before she was born, and her mother, and her grandmother. Her grandmother went to France with me one year, and we had a great time, and Nicole was there too. And you just do such a thorough job of telling us what's going on at the schools, and we just appreciate it so much. We'll miss you, and I'll miss sitting next to you.
Just come back and visit. Anybody else? All right. Leah, you want to give us your report?
All right, well, we recently announced that our new assistant principal will be Dr. Eric Gardner. Now, he works in the same office that my mom does back there in the West Wing. When I tell you, he is one of my favorite people. He talks to everybody. He's just a very approachable person. He's very down to earth, and I love him a lot, and I think he's going to do an incredible job. As far as sports goes, tomorrow we have 9 seniors that will be signing their letters of intent. So tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the CHS Arena lobby to continue their athletic careers at the collegiate level. The sports included are football, boys soccer, girls basketball, volleyball, wrestling, and cheer. We have free sports physicals on May 20th at 1 o'clock in Rager Arena. District play for baseball starts tonight in McMinn County, and Cleveland plays at 8. District play for softball starts Friday at CHS. After Friday, all games will be at Ottawa. Our girls' overall record is 15-13 and 8-4 in the district, and we're second in the district currently. For boys soccer, district play starts Friday at McMinn County. Track, next Tuesday, they will travel to Cookeville for sectionals. Tennis, Friday, their district tournament will begin at the Champions Club. Football has started their spring practices. And as far as the arts go, the theater department put on their spring musical Freaky Friday and had an almost completely packed house for several of those performance nights. So we're very proud of the success of our fine arts programs, and we can see that more and more people are coming to see them, which is incredible that they're getting some more exposure and some more recognition for the work that they put in. We have several summer camps going on over the summer. Lady Raiders basketball camp will be from May 25th to 27th from 9 to 1 in Raider Arena, and you can email Tony Williams with any questions. Soccer will be a co-ed camp on May 31st through June 3rd from 9 to 12 at the Mouse Creek Complex, and you can email Miles Christian with any information or any questions for that. And softball will host a camp from July 25th to 29th at the softball field at CHS from 4 to 7. You can email KJ Harris with any questions. We had several students participate in the Special Olympics held at CMS. Our students enjoy showing off their talents. Special Services hosted a kickball game. Their game was between the Lee University softball team and our softball team, as well as our Special Services. And CHS won mighty well. I think the final score was like 49-1 or something like that. Good. And then, like we said earlier, we had interviews for the new school board representative. Ms. Arna Patel was selected, and I am fully confident that she will do just as good a job, if not 15 times better, as I've done this year. She's a very intelligent girl. I've heard many good things about her while I don't know her personally. She is definitely well-renowned throughout the school, so I'm very excited that you guys will get to work with her. As far as, all the senior things going on, I might have had a countdown on for a while now. The senior walk was last Friday, and everyone had a great time going back to their elementary school. And I don't know if in past years they've done this, but every single senior went to the middle school before they went off to their prospective elementary schools. So we got to see, all of the schools that we might have gone through. And then, like I said, tomorrow at 3, we have 9 athletes signing their intent to further their athletic careers in college. Senior awards are tomorrow night at North Cleveland Church of God, and they start at 6. Prom is this Saturday, the theme is Clee Vegas, and it will be at the 5 Point Museum Center. Now, I may not say this word correctly, but I believe it is baccalaureate.
Correct.
Look at me. That is this Sunday at the Peerless Road Church, starting at 4 o'clock. Senior exams are Monday and Tuesday, which are May 9th and 10th. The SGA senior party is May 11th at CHS. We have graduation practice on May 12th and graduation on May 13th. I think we've about wrapped up, end of course testing, and I think we still have a few AP tests to go. We have definitely been very, very busy on campus with that. And then students have been selecting courses for the next year. The 8th graders are going to come over on May 17th for a tour, and our leadership students will be showing them around campus. So I think that's about all I've got. There's probably 13 million other things that have been going on over there. Some people are hard to track down, lots of little bitty things going on, but those are the major things that have been going over at Raider Drive.
Goodness gracious.
Busy time of the year.
How did we get to May so quickly?
I don't know, last time, I feel like I blinked an eye. I think I started my countdown at about 180 days. Now we're down to about 9.
I know. Just when we get you trained to leave us. Thank you. You've done an outstanding job. Let's give her another round. Let's come back and visit us sometimes too.
When I can, I will. I did have to ask for approval to leave campus. So.
Maybe at Christmas or something. All right, how are we going? Here for the site committee. Thank you, Leo.
Al, is Stephanie not here with you?
Well, we have a new principal back there who is going to fill in for Dr. Stone. We have 2 requests. These are changes to facilities, and since they're changes to facilities, we have to come bring before you. As you received the letters from Yates and E.L. Ross. We can start with E.L. Ross. They're wanting to add some playground equipment not to exceed $23,000. It will be raised, the money will be raised through local fundraising, and the remaining will be CARES Act funds. And we can also, Yates Primary School will have a $3,000 grant for adaptive playground equipment, and they're not to exceed $20,000 for additional general use playground equipment with local fundraising and remaining CARES Act funds. So that is the request coming to you from Ross and Yates. And sir, would you have anything about that you would like to add on the request?
We're excited that the grant came through, and we're just excited to get some new playground equipment with your approval.
How do we know what the specific fundraiser is at Ross?
I do not. Would you know at this point what we're?
Through our general funds, over the last few years, we've participated in the Apex Fun Run. You've probably seen things on social media. All of our students run around our campuses. So quite a bit of that money is going to be coming from those 2 fundraisers we've done recently.
Yes, I see that pop up, and those kids are really working, they're having to run to earn that money. So that's a really good combination of exercise and fundraising. Dr. your recommendation
Yeah, no, I recommend we move forward
with the Ross Yates?
with Ross
program?
Yates, yeah,
Okay,
program as listed.
motion for that one. Chris, second? Carolyn, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed. Okay.
I'm locking things up here. Okay, so we had received a phone call, and as you know, we have a little bit of a new road being put in, or expansion of a road being put in front of our elementary and Candy's Creek. Mr. Acciona was kind enough to go with me, and we were able to meet with the contractors, their project engineer, and Clint Clayton with TDOT. And we were able to discuss some things. And one of the problems that they're gonna run into is they have to cut that grade down a lot. So that means that they're gonna have to shut down the main entrance for 6 weeks. And that's if all goes well. So we're talking a 6 to 8 week shutdown. Well, that's, of course, about the length of our summertime. So they're gonna need to have that. We talked to them and explained that we really need to use the school during that same time. So we have to have access to the parking lot. So after a discussion of going back and forth and what we would need and some of the discussion that was talked about when we first negotiated with them, this is what we came up with. That TDOT has agreed to put a temporary drive on the north end of the property that will connect into the parking lot, so that while they're demolishing and redoing the entrance, the main entrance, we can bring cars in for parking, so teachers for our summer school administration can park still, and activities will be able to come in and park there. We will use the bus loop for drop-off, for both buses and car drop-off. And so this is what we came up with as a compromise. In the letter, TDOT said that they will be responsible for both installing and removal of the driveway to provide access. And it was made really clear that day, and I think Mr. Accioni will agree with us, that they know they're going to be pressed for time. One of the reasons we're coming to you, and I'm coming to you with an email, is because they need to get this done before school's out. And so we just did not have time to bring you the whole formal proposal and everything with them having to get your approval now. They have to have your approval to move forward with this. So that's pretty much where we are.
What about the traffic light?
That's all part of the city's response. The city, we won't have a traffic light for this, not for the
We will
summer.
not.
Not for the summer, we won't.
That seems a little dangerous to me not to have one there.
Yeah, but Tad Bacon with the city is involved with that, so is David Shealy. So I understand what you're saying, but they said trying to do that and do construction at the same time, there won't be a traffic light. Not at this time. That's not what they're saying there will be. Not for the 6 weeks they're doing it.
This particular entrance is just for individuals going to park and work, so you're only talking about, you're not talking about a heavy flow in that,
Okay.
right there. You're looking at 30, 40 cars a day, perhaps.
Oh,
In there to park,
That's for just the parking.
that's just
okay.
workers.
Oh, I just meant just get onto
When they come-
Georgetown Road.
I talked to our teachers that are working summer school and said that this, there will be K-rails, the concrete barriers. And there's an easement to let them in and let them out, but they'll need to be cautious there. It's just there'll be cafeteria and perhaps coaches that are running clinics and then summer school teachers and administration.
You still have to lie down at Southern Heritage Bank.
Still have what?
There's a lie down at
There's a
Southern
lie
Heritage
down
Bank.
That will
It gives
have,
you, the red lines are the area behind it, what is that? Campbell Cove.
Yes, sir.
That's a subdivision right there.
Right.
It's that tree line that goes along the parking lot there.
But they are predicting or projecting to have this done before school starts?
Yes, that's actually part of the contract that we were, part of the specifications of this project was that they get this done as soon as school gets out and get it done while school was out of session. And so that's kind of why we're looking at it. And that's why they have to have your permission right now to move forward with the driveway.
Some of you ask about the sign, how you've taken the signs off, the letters off the sign.
The letter's off, but the sign is actually theirs at this point. Whenever they saw it, yeah, they'll just bulldoze that.
They paid us for that, though.
They paid us for that sign.
They paid us for that, though.
Yes, yeah. Right. One of you's got the letters, right? It goes back up.
We took we just removed, we probably won't put those back up. We just went ahead and removed them instead of them just being
I
demolished.
mean, when the new sign is up.
Yeah, we've still got the letters. We took them down. And then the bus loop will probably be a right turn only, because of the way that comes out. So when you pull in, you'll go in and you'll come out and you'll take a right turn only.
All right, I guess we need a motion on that one.
I move that we move forward.
Second.
Charlie, any other questions? All those in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Move forward.
All right, thank you, Val.
Yes, ma'am.
We've got one more thing not on the agenda. We have somebody leaving us at the end of this month, and we can't say enough good about Julie. She came in during COVID, and all of a sudden she had a board to take care of that she didn't even get to sit down and meet with, because we had to do it over the phone or emails or all the ways we dealt with COVID. And we would meet to do the agenda in the conference room. Dr. Dyer would be way over there, and Julie would be way over there. We'd have our masks on, and that's when it first started. You know how scary it was, and we didn't know what to expect. And that's how Julie came on board. And she never missed a step. She was terrific, and she made it through like she'd just been here. She didn't know what normal was, but she did it anyway. And she did a great job, and we're gonna miss you so, so much, Julie, and thank you for the work that you've done. And we have a little gift for you from the board. Love you.
Thank you all so much.
She's had to work with us. You all are her talent.
Y'all made it easy. I'm gonna miss you all.
Well, good luck in your future, and come by and visit us sometimes. Dr. Dyer, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Any board members have anything else? Well, then we will adjourn by general consent. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's make it all. Yeah, works. Right after that. Message.
I know.